Because of tariffs, we're doing unbelievable. We're making more money than we ever have made. And by the way, we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, just to get off the subject for a second. We're going to take some of that tariff money that we made. We're going to give it to our farmers, who are, for a little while, going to be hurt until it kicks in. The tariffs kick into their benefit. So we're going to make sure that our farmers are in great shape, because we're taking in a lot of money. We're finding... the other day, it was very interesting. They found $31 billion. They said, sir, we found 31. I said, you mean positively, right? They said, yeah, 31 million more than we knew. And they said, we don't know where it came from. I said, check the tariff shelf. They came back the following morning. They said, you're right, sir, it came from the tariffs. We've never seen anything like this. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking some money from all of the tariff money that we've taken, and we're going to distribute it to our farmers until the tariffs kick into their benefit, which ultimately the farmers are going to be making a fortune. But it's a process of, it has to keep.
American workers and American taxpayers have been taken advantage of for multi-generation, for decades. And it's time for somebody to stand up and put us first and put the country first and do what's best for the country, not what's best for the politicians.
Even if you as a farmer suffer.
That's right.
I mean, some people would hear that and be quite surprised that you're prepared to put your livelihood, your family's livelihood, on the line for the sake of politics.
Well, that's my duty, is for being the head of my household. I've got to do what I got to do, what's going to be better for the future, better for the kids. It's not about today, it's about the long term. The long game is where the rewards are going to be.
But don't the price of tariffs and what happens in commodity markets like soybean, doesn't that affect you in the short term and affect your ability to provide for your family?
Look, tariffs will probably have a detrimental effect on soybean price in the near future. In the long term, it'll probably work out. I'm a farmer. I deal with bad weather. I deal with dry weather. I deal with torrential rains. We deal with hurricanes. What's a tariff going to do? You know, I got to raise a crop. If I was worried, I'd stay home and not raise a crop. If I was worried about it, I still got to get out there and raise my crop to get the price. If you don't get the yield, it doesn't make any difference. You know, I got to deal with all these other things. What's a tariff? I can't control that, so it is what it is.
You talk to America's farmers, they'll tell you these are tough times. A combination of high operating costs, low commodity prices, and lost markets has had devastating repercussions on the agriculture industry and the communities built around it. CBS's Lana Zach is in Davenport, Iowa tonight with new details on the growing crisis.
Farmers say this has been a perfect storm. They were already battling higher growing costs and crop disease, and now China, which had previously purchased half of all U.S. exports, has pulled out.
U.S. soybean farmers are starting their harvest, but they face steep losses that could fuel farm bankruptcies and foreclosures nationwide.
This is awful discouraging. You know, we do our very best to grow a good crop to feed the world, and then we can't hardly give it away.
Many growers say they feel betrayed. Last week, the Trump administration gave Argentina a financial lifeline, a $20 billion loan. But Argentina then cut the price of its own soy exports to China, undercutting U.S. farmers.
If we don't do something, we're not going to have no family farms.
In Arkansas this month, hundreds of farmers packed into a church to plead for help from the government.
I'm in the worst shape right now that I've ever been in.
With prices for crops crashing, farmers are doing everything they can to stay viable, even selling off equipment. Joel's Tractors in Strawberry Point, Iowa saw a 30% jump in farm machinery up for auction this year.
Put a finger full of grease in there.
Keeping aging tractors running has Lawrence Christensen and his team working at full throttle.
The demand is stronger than the availability.
New equipment costs have increased by 60% in the last 8 years. John Deere, a U.S. manufacturing icon, says U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum will cost them $600 million this year. Over the past 2 years, the company has had to lay off 2,500 employees.
Majority of my family works here.
Gabriel Gomez was a proud Deere employee following in the footsteps of his dad and uncles. Friday was his last day.
It's like a kick to the gut, right? When you're getting laid off after you've given 20 plus years to the company.
When you think about these tariffs and the ripple effects that they've had, do you think it's worth it?
You know, you hope that possibly in the long term they would be helpful. Currently here in the short term, it's really killing us. We were sold that we were going to do everything we could for the American workers, and we're seeing quite the opposite at this time.
President Trump says he will make it up to farmers, promising them some of the tariff revenue. But here in this area where John Deere is headquartered, the economic losses are hitting the entire community.
This is my 39th crop. I started in 1986, the year I graduated high school. I could plant an acre of beans in 1986 for 30 bucks. It irritates me that you don't have the guts to acknowledge that the people do not pay the tariffs. I don't care if it's John Deere, Case, Caterpillar, all that stuff is outsourced overseas. And the guy that pays it is the guy that purchases it. I can buy a bearing for a combine, and it's made in Taiwan or who knows where. Parts have over doubled in the last year, if you can get them. The dealer at Marshall has a backlog for almost 4 months because they can't get parts because of Trump's stupid tariffs. I think agriculture has taken a heck of a hit on a lot of misinformation, and he is not helping the farmer. I mean, we farm about 3,500 acres. We are going to be so far in the red. When are you going to stand up for us instead of kissing his ass for these trade deals? And the tariffs. More so the tariffs than the trade.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I need you blue state liberals to stop calling the farmers who voted for their own personal financial ruin stupid. It's infantilizing. They aren't stupid. To actually manage a farm effectively requires insane depths of knowledge in math, science, logistics. These people aren't dumb. But what they are learning, for I think in some cases the first time in their lives, is how expensive racism is. They heard Trump loud and clear when he said that he would deport their labor force and that he would tariff essentially all of the inputs they need to run their facilities. And they absolutely heard him when he claimed over and over again that the US gave too much to the world in aid, and therefore those aid streams, which most often include the food these farmers grow, would be cut. They heard it all. They just didn't believe it. They thought this was just Trump 1.0 and there would be enough adults in the room to say, hey, this is reckless. We can't do this because it will dismantle the economy. Yeah, a lot of farmers were hurt during the first Trump administration. Thanks to his reckless trade wars, particularly with China, a lot of them went bankrupt. And the bailouts that originally happened under Trump's first term didn't mostly even go to these small-scale farmers. It ended up going to big agribusiness. And I have a feeling, if past is prologue, we're going to see that happen again if bailouts happen at all. Because the reality is these people do not actually want to save these small-scale farms. People in this admin, like J.D. Vance, very specifically invested in things like Acre Trader. Their goal is for these farmers to go bankrupt so that they can consolidate, buy up huge swaths of their land, and make a fortune. So I'm not going to lie to you, there is very little incentive for anybody in this administration to actually give these farmers a bailout, no matter how angry and white and male they are. I doubt there are any farmers listening to this at the moment, but the billionaires do not care about you. They actually just want to take your stuff. So even if a bailout does come, and I doubt an effective one will, but if it does, it is going to be meager enough to keep these people in dire financial straits. Because the goal of a lot of these billionaires and investment firms is to make them desperate enough to sell. So you can say goodbye to small-scale family farms, that's for sure. What's kind of funny about this is that Let's Go Brandon tried to bail you out for real. And that's probably the last time anyone will, so.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
He said, I love you, Mr. Trump. I need to see the fruit of your love.
5 of my customers have committed. That's how serious that this is.
And what it costs for us to farm is astronomical now.
I farm with paid-for equipment. All my tractors are 50 years old, and I can't hardly make this deal work. I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm. After a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
We made the decision to go out this year in the spring. So my son will not be the seventh generation on our farm.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
American farmers that voted for Trump are going bankrupt. 88% of farmers voted for Trump in 2016, and he bankrupted them by 2019. However, in 2024, 78% still voted for Trump again. Now 1/3 of them are going bankrupt and said their families will be homeless.
If he bankrupted them the first time, why would they vote for him a second time?
Nobody knows why, but they say the tariffs with other countries are severely hurting them. No one even has the money to buy their crops anymore. And now that immigrants have been deported, no Americans want to do the job. Now all the farmers are asking for a government handout, but nobody cares. Because they're saying, why in the heck would you vote for the same guy that bankrupted you? Farmers are now saying they regret their vote, but they're begging Trump for help.
So they voted against their own self-interest, paid the price, and are now sad and want to reverse it?
It's too late to reverse it because they said they're deep in the red and their numbers are down 50% more than it was 3 years ago. The last trade war Trump started with China made them lose 71% of their profits, and that this one's going to be much worse. So now they're asking people for their tax money so they can stay in business. Why does nobody care?
Because who would feel sympathy for somebody who was willing to harm other people because they thought they wouldn't be affected, and now that they're getting harmed, they want that same sympathy from those other
That's
people.
what everybody was saying, but Bill Gates was seen sitting with Trump a week ago. And Bill Gates owns the most farmland in America by far. Speculated Bill Gates is going to buy the people that go bankrupt.
Bill Gates?
Yes, that also owns most of the U.S. farmland 2025.
It's 5 more billionaire.
To all my farmer neighbors, my name is Susie, and I live in rural Missouri. You were warned over and over and over. We told you there was no drag queen story hour. There were no furries in our school using litter boxes. But you guys refused to call the superintendent of the schools like I did. I called Rolla Public Schools and asked Dr. Dare if there was any truth to that. He laughed and said maybe I was watching too much TV. We told you that China signed 20-year contracts with Brazil for soybeans. You laughed in our face. I'm not going to say I told you so. But I do not want to bail you out for the next 20 years, and I will fight against it. China signed 20-year contracts with Brazil for soybeans because of Donald J. Trump. They don't want our soybeans. They don't want our beef. They don't want our wheat. They don't want anything we grow. As far as we're concerned, China can stick it up our ass. And can you blame them? Can you really blame them?
Trump just announced new bailout plans for farmers, and it is going to cost taxpayers tens of billions of dollars. Let's dive in. So Trump announced yesterday that the first round of bailout payments are going to be coming in the next couple of weeks. Now, you may be asking yourself, why are we sending billions and billions of dollars to farmers? Oh, I don't know, because they were hit so hard by his tariffs, and you're going to be paying for it. The USDA's farm aid account only has around $4 billion left, so, not nearly enough. So officials are eyeing tariff revenue, how ironic, and other funds to cover the gap. Okay, but using this tariff money, it is going to cause a big fight with Democrats and Republicans in Congress, since they're already fighting about government spending. And with the government being shut down right now, I feel like the rollout or these funds might be a little bit delayed, right? Some Republicans are saying farmers are going to need between $35 to $50 billion in aid, because right now the Chinese markets are still closed to US soybeans. Now, before you leave me, read this headline. Trump set to bail out Argentina. The Trump administration is set to provide a $20 billion financial lifeline to Argentina. So yeah, America first, right? As always, thank you for watching The Mexican Millennial, and do me a favor, share my page with someone else who likes the news, because everyone needs to know what is going on. Bye.
These Republican voting farmers are finding out the hard way. Caleb Ragland grows soybeans in Kentucky. He's voted for Trump every election since 2016. And now, he calls the current crisis Farmageddon. Why is he calling it Farmageddon? Because Trump's trade war shut down their biggest customer, China. Soybeans used to be a $25 billion export. Now they're sitting in bins unsold while Brazil cashes in. And Caleb's not alone. Eric Yukin, a seventh-generation farmer in Iowa, with 750 acres of corn and 600 of soybeans, also voted for Trump in 2024. I didn't anticipate it being as bad as it is, he says. You didn't remember Trump screwing you guys over his last presidency? The funniest quote he says is that it's kind of the government that's put us in this situation. Eric, you don't say. He says pigs and cattle are keeping his farm afloat, barely. But there's no clear plan from DC. Just a maybe later bill that won't help until next year. This year's crop is rotting. We don't know what's happening day to day, Yukin says. Man, what a great guy to vote for. Someone that you have no idea what he'll screw up next. The last time we had bailouts was to buy future votes. Now, it doesn't matter anymore, he says. Ding, ding, ding. We got a winner, Eric. Trump's not coming to save you. He got what he wanted. Power, attention, money, and chaos. While you got tariffs, bankruptcy, and empty silos. And now that the votes are in and the markets are gone, he's moving on. While you're still out in the field waiting for a harvest that has nowhere to go. I hope you like soybeans, because there's going to be plenty of leftovers for you to eat.
We're just absolutely as farmers, guys. Everything is so and I do not see anybody surviving this farm crisis that we're in. Guys, look, one of the best splorn crops that I have ever raised in my life. And because of the tariffs, China will not buy it. And they are the only country in the world other than, well, they are the only country in the world that buys splorn. And so now I'm literally just chopping it, blowing it on the ground because it's fucking useless. It's valueless. There's nothing I can do to it. I am going to need government assistance to make it through this crisis until these tariffs end. Look, I've never raised a splorn crop like this, guys. And this is just fucking heartbreaking to me. I don't know how I'm going to survive. You know, Trump said he fucking loved us farmers, and here I am just blowing my splorn crop all over the ground. Hopefully he works a deal out where Antarctica and Mars will start buying this splorn and save the farmers. I'm sorry, splorn crop, but you're
So I see the farmers are having a little bit of trouble now, are they? Now, we're only, well, we're about 10 months in. We're almost 10 months into this thing, and they are already struggling. They've been struggling. This is not a new thing that's just been happening. They have been struggling ever since those tariffs were implemented in about, what, April or May, somewhere around there. But they just can't seem to catch a break. Now the news of Trump sending the 20 million to Argentina, and now Argentina is going to be selling to China for a cheaper price on the commodities. That is crazy. And yet these farmers are still wanting help. They want bailouts. Oh, but these are the people that's against government assistance for everybody else, but we have to bail them out when this is exactly what they voted for. Now, me personally, I'm not going to say I don't care, because farming, it's a very important industry. Agriculture it's essential. We can't really go around it. But in my opinion, I feel that they should be able to fend for themselves. If they went into that voting booth and pressed Donald Trump's name, then whatever Donald Trump gives them, that's what they should have to deal with. They voted for themselves and thought that they weren't going to be impacted by his policies and what he was going to be implementing once he got into office. Then that's what they're going to have to live with, because they weren't thinking of the people who may need Medicaid, people that may need food stamps. They weren't thinking about anyone else but themselves. Now they want government assistance, but no one else could get it. To me, I want to see how this plays out because I want them to fend for themselves. I'll never say, oh, I hope they go out of business. A lot of people would. I know a lot of people might be mad at me for that, but I have a little compassion. Sue me. But I just feel that it's an unfortunate situation, but I can't feel bad because this is what all of these farmers voted for. And let me not say all, because I'm sure there are some moderate or liberal leaning farmers out there. But I mean, it's sad that they all have to suffer for the votes of these farmers in Arkansas and Iowa and all of these other states. And now they are all asking for help. Doesn't matter what part of the country the farmers are in, they are needing help and they're going bankrupt. Unfortunately, I did see a few videos mentioning farmers that have been taking their own lives over this. And a lot of these people's farms have been in their families for generations. And what did they do? Vote away their own family heritage and history that might all be gone after all of this. And I wanted to include the man at the beginning, the farmer that was like, hey, if I have to suffer, so be it. I bet that was the attitude of a lot of these farmers, but they're never going to admit it because they're suffering now. I want people to see out there that this was the thinking before these tariffs came into place, or at least maybe right afterward. I think that video, if I want to remember right, was from about April. I'm not sure, but it was like earlier in the year for sure. I would hope that Channel 4, that's the account where the video clip came from. I wish that they would do a follow-up video to this. I should have really checked to see if they did. It would be so interesting to see where this man stands now, like if he's struggling or if he's keeping himself afloat, because that is crazy to say that you'll just accept whatever happens to you personally just to say you voted for Trump. That is insanity. But and I noticed that people that voted for him, Trump supporters, are awfully quiet about this. Unless you're a farmer, I'm not hearing any regular Trump supporter coming out in the comments of any of these videos saying, hey, we need to support our farmers. This sucks what Trump is doing to our farmers. Nope, no type of support from their counterparts. But yet they want to be all under videos in regards to the shutdown, including my last video, spewing lies and dumb ideals about if and I'm going to go into this a little bit. I know it's off topic, but it's really just annoying. That's what they want to spend their energy towards, like perpetuating this lie that illegal immigrants, in their rhetoric, they're undocumented immigrants. Okay, so if they're undocumented and you need a social security card or number to and documents to get Medicaid or any sort of government health care, then the immigrants cannot get it. Like what is so hard to understand about that? But they're all like, oh, I don't want my money going to illegals. They need to get out of here. They do not deserve any health care, blah, 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 blah. And it's just really funny to me that so many of them are wasting their energy on this type of thing where this is where they need to focus their energy and their anger, because the fact that he sent the money to Argentina and Argentina is pulled a double whammy and still sold to China, that is insane. But again, we don't hear nothing of MAGA speaking about that because when it comes to Trump doing wrong, they want to avoid talking about it at all costs. But if they find a little loophole or a little inch to where they feel they could blame Democrats for something, oh, they're going to take it, most definitely. But we'll just have to see what happens for this. Like I said earlier, I unfortunately, I don't feel bad. I can't feel bad. This is what so many of y'all voted for. So you're just going to have to deal with the repercussions. If he bails y'all out, hey, that's just what's going to happen. I don't feel like tariff money, just like the comments I have on the screen. So you're going to charge tariffs, but you're going to use the money from the tariffs to eventually bail out the farmers who probably would have been okay before the tariffs anyway. Yeah, it just will never make sense to me what people on that side want to focus their energy towards, but I'll let them have it. Let them run with, like I said in one of my comments in that video, my last video. By the way, watch it if you can, because I'm probably going to have to delete it because I didn't put any commentary on it. So that might be within the next couple days. But Anyway, just like this comment I have on the screen, this user says, I think the plan is to bankrupt everyone, then lower interest rates so corporations can borrow money cheap and buy it all up. Yep, I think that's exactly what it is. This is what this man is wanting to do. This is their entire agenda, is to play it all into the billionaires' favor to where us regular people will have to suffer. But we on the left and Democrats knew that. It's these people that didn't, and now they're paying the price. This is all that's going to happen because a lot of these farmers, if big corporations ask to buy the farms from a lot of these farmers, they're probably going to sell it, because what else can they do if they're facing bankruptcy? But it's just, yeah, it's just crazy to me, the fact that this is even going on. But just like I said earlier, it's like we're almost a year into this, you all. A year into this almost already. And MAGA can't really even claim anything great has been happening. Like, the only things they could probably say is that they got the big beautiful bill, quote unquote, passed. They're detaining immigrants, and that they won the election. That's pretty much it. Everything else has been an epic fail. An epic fail. So they want to find any little thing to blame other people about, even the shutdown. So and just to go a little off topic again, I hope the shutdown will last a little longer. I hate that it's going to affect people's jobs, and there's probably going to be a fair amount of people that lose their jobs, because it's unfortunate that good have to suffer for the bad sometimes, but we're fighting for people's health care. And look at what's happening to our agricultural industry. But yet nobody's speaking up about that, but they're ready and willing to listen to Trump's delusional lies. I saw a part of the White House website. I cannot believe that this is something that's representing like an official website of the United States government. The way that it's so propagandized. I know that's not a word, but I just feel that it's just insane to see that if somebody from another country is going to the White House website, like any journalist or anybody, they say the radical left lunatics and the Democrats are wanting bankruptcy for all of us and the government to shut down. It's just it's just really draining to really look at all of that, and it's just such an embarrassment in my opinion. But anyway, you guys, let me know what you think about this down below, because I definitely want to hear what you think. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because that will really help to support the channel, and that will help get this video pushed out into the algorithm to where more people could discover what's going on with these farmers and everything else that's going on in this man's presidency. And that's pretty much all I have for you all today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to catch you guys in the next video. Bye. See you later.